Michael Redd deep dive. Here we come. Andrew, why are we doing this deep dive on Michael Redd right now?
Because a certain guy named Zach Bean wanted us to do a talk about Michael Redd, and I said, we can do that. I know the co-host.
Yeah, and it worked. We love Michael Redd. And I could recall from high school Zach Bean loving Michael Redd too. He's told me this a couple times actually, and I always remembered. And Michael Redd, before we even get into who Michael Redd is, his background, let's just break down. I'm going to use my big word again. His anthropometrics. He's a 6'6" shooting guard. He is 215 pounds, and he's a lefty. One of the few great lefties that we could name off. And Andrew, I have a few lefties for you. You ready for this list of names?
Sure, let's hear it. I probably know some of them.
Oh, you probably know all of them. Rafe LaFrentz, Sam Perkins, Brandon Jennings, Tayshaun Prince, Jalen Rose, Nick Van Exel, Mike Conley, Isaiah Thomas, the one that plays today, Lamar Odom, Tony Kukoc, Gordon Dragic, Derek Favors, Damian Stoudemire, James Harden, David Robinson, Bob Lehner, Lenny Wilkins, Billy Cunningham, Tiny Archibald, Chris Mullins, Gail Goodrich, Zach Randolph, Chris Bosh, Ginobili, and one of the greatest players of all time. He's a top 5 guy, Andrew. Do you know who that is? The greatest play. He's in most people's top 5 or top 10. Do you know who's a lefty in that few list of guys?
Elgin Baylor?
No. Bill Russell.
That guy's lefty? Yeah. That guy's lefty?
Mm-hmm.
All I ever seen was him dunking or blocking shots with his right hand.
Yeah, you would have never known it. He's a lefty. So, Andrew, let's. Yeah, I know. Fun facts. Early Michael Redd. He was born in Columbus, Ohio. You know what else came from Ohio?
LeBron James.
LeBron James, and also Cupies for people who like burgers.
Wait, and Steph Curry.
Oh, did he? Cool.
Yeah, he was born in Akron, I think.
Oh, Akron. You know what? Maybe that's the secret. You just have to have babies in Akron.
Maybe.
And guess what? Do you have anything else to add to that? I just know that he's from Ohio.
He played at Ohio State.
Yeah, he also goes to Ohio State. And he plays 3 years at Ohio State as well. And each year he averaged, his first year, 21.9 points a game. Second year, 19.5 points a game. And his junior year, 17.5 points per game. His career average at Ohio State through 96 games, he averaged 96.6 points per game, 6 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 44.8 field goal percentage. And guess his 3-point percentage, Andrew?
48.
31.
What? Oh, well, I guess
31.9%. That was my reaction too. I couldn't believe that. I was like,
late 90s.
Late 90s. The 3-point line's pushed in though. He's known as a shooter. I was like 31.9. I was shocked. I had to test you on that.
A lot of guys that were like, if he was a guy that can just get buckets, I think those guys were like tended to be good 3-point shooters in the league for some reason.
Also, something that shocked me, 64.9% from the free throw line. Surprisingly low for a shooting guard like Michael Redd.
Well, he did play in the Big Ten, so it's tough to play in those gyms.
Yeah, but I mean, on a free throw, I don't know. Redd was also known for playing with this guy. This was kind of like his the Batman and Robin of Ohio State, Scoonie Penn.
Scoonie Penn. Sorry.
Yeah,
Scoonie Penn.
They led Ohio State to the
just rolls off the tongue.
I know, it's not Scottie Pippen, it's Scoonie Penn. It's kind of like the knockoff cereals that you could get at Aldi. They're not Cheerios, they're Roundios.
And you're still upset when it comes home.
Yeah, always upset. But Scooney
Shout out
Penn,
to Aldi.
yeah, Aldi shout out. Red and Scooney Penn led Ohio State to the NCAA Final Four in Red's second year, I believe. Um, some notable college honors that he had: 97, 98 Big Ten Rookie of the Year, was 1999, 2000 All Big Ten first team, and also he dominated the Big Ten with field goals made. He was first in the 98 and 99 Big Ten. He was total points in 98 and 99 in Big Ten, and points per game with 21.9 and 98. So he had some. He was putting up some numbers, and he was dominating that conference. So I was kind of surprised. Do you have anything else to add to his Ohio State resume?
I do not know.
Yeah, so that was before he got in the NBA, and he must have not made enough noise, or he didn't have the league on notice. He was a lefty shooter, and it's not like he was rebounding very well. I already told you he wasn't a rebound guy. He wasn't a big assist guy. He, like I told you, 31.9 from three. So he's not blowing people out of the water from three, 65 from the free throw line. And he ends up falling in this draft. And he was part of the 2000 draft. And
Ugh,
and I was about to say, this draft is notorious for being one of the worst drafts of all time.
this
Andrew,
draft it's garbage.
do you have the first, let's say, 14 pick, the lottery pick in front of you right now?
I don't have the first 14 picks per
You
se,
have
but I
some
do have.
guys in
I
front
have
of
some guys that were these. So these are guys for everyone out there that were picked before
Oh, you
Michael
know what?
Redd. One of them.
Well, hold
Oh,
on.
go
Before
ahead.
you give that, can I give the lottery guys and then you name them?
Sure. Yeah.
I'm not all of these guys are going to be, I'm sure, on your list, because he ended up getting drafted in the 43rd pick in the second round.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to name 14 guys, and these are in order,
Okay.
and you can name them too on yours. So with the first pick, it went Kenyon Martin. Second, Stromile Swift. Third, Darius Mile. Fourth, Marcus Pfizer. Fifth, Mike Miller. Sixth, DeMar Johnson. 7, Chris Mim. 8, Jamal Crawford. 9, Joel Prinsilla. 10, Keon Dooling. 11, Jerome Moiso. 12, Eton Thomas. 13, Courtney Alexander. 14, Mateen Cleans. Andrew, add on to that.
And then some guys that these are no in particular order, but these are guys that got picked before Michael Redd: AJ Guyton, Marco Jaric, Jake Voshkel. That's a funny one for Joe and I growing up.
Jake Voshko, you're a great big phony. I said that to him. I was in the.
Shout out to Jake Voshkel. Come on the podcast so we can
me,
yell that at you.
me and Alex Peters had one of the greatest days of our lives together, where we went to a Cubs game, sat right behind home plate, and right after the Cubs game, we went to a Bulls game, and we sat third row, dead center, to the point where Jake Voshkel, he was on the other team, and we were heckling Jake Voshkel, and he was actually acknowledging us, and that was one of the many things that was said.
Was
Jake
that when he was on the
Voshkel! Huh?
Was that when he was on the Bobcats?
I think it was a Raptors game. You're a
Okay,
great
maybe he
big
was on
phony. Okay, sorry, go on.
Eduardo Nahara. You mentioned Marcus Pfizer, Chris Mim, Crawford, Prisbilla, Hito Turkoglu, Desmond Mason, Quentin Richardson, Jamal McGlure, Morris Peterson, Deshaun Stevenson, Dalibor Barjaric,
Oh my gosh, I don't know how he got in the NBA.
Eddie House, Speedy Claxton, and the 4 guys that went ahead of Michael Redd, I'm not going to mention their names, they combined in 8 years in the league, while Michael Redd went on and played 12 years. Brian Cardinal, the custodian, picked after Michael Redd.
Interesting.
In this draft, you know how many All-Stars were in this draft?
I already looked it up, so I do.
There's three.
Three.
Jamal McGlure had 1 appearance. Kenyon Martin, 1 appearance. Michael Redd, 1 appearance. Literally, only 3 appearances, 3 different NBA guys.
And to add on to that, Michael Redd was the only player who was selected for an All-Star and All-NBA team. He's the only All-NBA team player on that draft.
That's insane. And also some other notable things. Most win shares, Hedo Turkoglu, Mike Miller, and Jamal Crawford.
Wow. And you know what? I could believe them. Well, say that again. What were the 3 names?
Hedo Turkoglu, Mike Miller, Jamal Crawford.
All right, I could see Jamal Crawford because he's been in the league for a really long time. Mike Miller played on some pretty good teams. I'm sure maybe I'm not sure if LeBron James, helped him out on that. But rookie of the year of that class, do you know who it is?
McGlure.
No, Mike Miller.
Oh, it was Mike Miller.
Mike Miller was the
That's
rookie
right.
of the year of this draft. And I have one more thing to add to this draft.
What is it?
One of my favorite players. He went undrafted.
Ooh.
Go on.
No, I said, ooh, that's undrafted. What a theme.
Malik Allen. One of my
Malik
favorite players.
Allen, yes.
He was
I love
undrafted and he
Allen.
was part of this draft as well. So
Malik Allen, I know you're coaching for the San Antonio Spurs right now.
Yeah, come on.
I believe I have to recheck.
Come on,
Come on our podcast.
Come on.
You are undrafted.
Malik.
We are undrafted.
Malik Allen. That mid-range game was sick. I loved his game. All right, let's move on. So he gets drafted by the Milwaukee Bucks along with Joel Prinzilla.
Yeah.
Prinzilla.
Yep.
Yeah, he was part of it as well. He got drafted by the Bucks as well. And going into his career, the Bucks, Michael Redd goes to a really good team.
Very good team.
Yeah.
A George Karl-led team.
He goes to a George Karl-led team with notable teammates Ray Allen, Rafer Alston, Sam Cassell, Darvin Ham, shout out, Lindsey Hunter, Joel Prinzilla, he was a rookie, like I said before, Glenn Robinson, Tim Thomas, and Jason Gaffey. And
Did you say Darvin Ham?
Darvin Ham. He was breaking.
Duncan Darvin Ham?
He broke some backboards in his day.
Duncan Darvin Ham. I remember him.
This Bucks team, well, before I say that, Michael Redd only plays 6 games his rookie year. He was coming off the bench. He wasn't Michael Redd how we know him as this 20-plus points per game for Milwaukee. He's a second-round pick in this team. This Bucks team, though, ends up getting to the Eastern Conference Finals against the 76ers. They go all the way to a Game 7. If they beat the 76ers, they're in the finals. There's a chance that the Bucks could win a championship, and Michael Redd finishes his career with a ring.
Didn't they play the Lakers though?
Well, they could have played the Lakers, but Ray Allen was insane.
You're not beating the Lakers.
Yeah, I think
them.
This team would have had a better.
Who's gonna guard Shaq? Joel Prizbilla?
No, he wasn't getting minutes yet. But I think that team had a better chance than the 76ers going into it.
I think they win. Thoughts. Maybe they win 2 games. Maybe.
Something else. You know who's a notable coach on this team?
For the Bucks?
Yeah, outside of George Karl.
Larry Krystowiak?
Ron Adams.
Ron Adams.
Ron Adams
sighting.
Coach. Yeah.
Ron Adams sighting.
I know.
Shout out to Ron Adams.
I know you like Ron Adams, so I threw that in there.
I'm a big fan of Ron Adams.
So
big defensive guy.
Michael Redd doesn't play. He's not playing in these games. The Bucks ended up losing. They lose in Game 7 to the 76ers, and their year is over. Michael Redd doesn't play. Second year Michael Redd becomes the 6th man. He is now the spark plug off the bench. He averages 11 points a game in 21 minutes. He went from 6 games last year on the team, not playing at all, to 21 minutes. But throughout this year, he plays 67 games. No playoffs for the Bucks though. The team does have a 500 record. It's kind of always a Debbie Downer year when you actually get to the 41 win marker, but you don't make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
They have the same crew for the most part, but Michael Redd is just playing the sixth man. Anything else to add to? And if you have something to add, Andrew, just step in and let me know.
No, I mean, we're just talking about his second year, right?
Yeah, third year, third season. They trade Glenn Robinson to the Atlanta Hawks, and they get Tony Kukoc.
Tony's back.
Tony's back. He's playing with the Bucks and Leon Smith, and
another lefty.
Yeah, and a 2003 first round pick, which ends up being TJ Ford in the future. Third season, he's still coming off the bench. He plays all 82 games with 14 starts. He's now up to 15 points a game, a 4-point jump, 4.5 rebounds a game, 1.4 assists, 1.2 steals. George Karl is still leading this team, but he's going to be out at the end of the season. But they're back in the playoffs. Do you know who they play?
Ooh.
They're basically an 8th seed. What do you think is one of the top teams in the 2002, 2003?
The Pacers.
Not the Pacers.
Damn it.
Led by a certain point guard. Bald guy, kind of looks like me. Triple-double guy. No.
I can't think of it right now.
Kidd. Asen
Kidd.
The
Nets. The Nets.
Against the Nets.
Okay.
Against the Nets. A bunch of subpar numbers from Michael Redd. He gets 11 points, 7 points, 5 points, 9 points, 6 points. But in game 6, he gets a 20-piece, but they lose. They're not beating that Nets team, right?
No way.
Here comes season 4. The Michael Redd train is here. He's starting. George Karl is gone. Terry Porter, coach, is in. And guess what? Michael Redd averages 21 points a game, 5 assists, 2 rebounds, 1 steal a game. And that all-star that you were talking about before, Andrew, becomes an all-star for the first time in the 2003-2004 season. And he's shooting 4 threes a game. But for whatever reason...
Wow!
Right? That's a lot during this time, by the way.
It is a lot. What a ball hog.
I mean...
Or a chucker.
I mean, you're joking, but imagine Michael Redd in this era. How many threes do you think he'd be shooting a game?
At least 7. Maybe 8.
7 or 8. I would think he's shooting twice as much. And that's, if he's
16?
No, he's not doing that. James Harden shoots like, 10 or 11? So 11, he's probably going to be shooting 8 or 9, maybe 7, 8, 9, around that, number. He's probably getting 3 or 4 threes a game. That's an extra 6 points to add. So you're looking at like a 25 to 30 point per game scorer, Michael Redd.
Yeah.
But notable teammates during this 03-04 season. Keith Van Horn, Desmond Mason, Tim Thomas, still in Milwaukee, Joe Smith, Brian Skinner, Tony Kukoc, and I got to say, I looked up the stats. Brian Skinner's averaging more points per game than Tony. I just thought that was interesting. TJ Ford is finally here, and Joel Prince-Billa. He's still there, but he only played 5 games that season. And they make the playoffs with the Michael Redd team, Andrew. They get in the playoffs. And
you forgot Dan Gazarich.
Oh, man. I loved playing him. Yeah, you're right. He was on that Bucks team. I always loved him. I mean, he's kind of like, well, what's a good comparison for him? He's kind of like DeAndre
Jared Jeffries?
No, Jared Jeffries was able to shoot and skinny and long. This guy was like built and muscular and like a catch one.
He's like a Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, similar. Defense not quite there, but like put him in the dunk spot, catch, dunk. Like that's what he's gonna do. He's gonna get you 8 boards a game, a couple dunks, and then he's gonna go back. I would say a good comparison would be Gafford.
Okay. I like that comparison.
That's a realistic comparison.
Right. I like that.
Yeah. So, yeah, good call. Dan Gazzarich, forgot about him. But they make the playoffs. Again, first round, just like before. They play the Pistons.
Oh.
Yeah, we all know how that's going to go. And
No.
this is how Michael Redd's stats are during this. Game 1, Michael Redd, again, is averaging 21 points a game. He drops 11 points.
Ooh.
Yeah, kind of disappointing.
Detroit defense.
Yeah, that Detroit defense, 11 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 3-pointer attempted. I'll say that again. 1 3-pointer attempted. That's like, can you picture like watching a like Steph Curry led team and Steph Curry and Klay Thompson combined for like 2 threes? That's what that feels like to me. 1 3-pointer attempted, and he doesn't even make it. So it was kind of upsetting. And not only that, he had 7 turnovers. So Michael Redd's playoff debut isn't very pretty as a Milwaukee Bucks Michael Redd led team. So kind
Not
of
at all.
not very impressive. He does bounce back. He gets a win in they lose game 1, gets a win in game 2. He gets 26 points, 4 rebounds. He goose egg on the assist number, but he shoots 4 of 7 from the 3-point line, and they get the win. But that's going to be their only win in the series. The next 3 games are losses, but does get a 19-6-5 game, a 12-5-2, and then 22-6-4. So not the best playoffs outing. And every time
Not at all.
every time they lost by 10 or more points. The worst being 26. You can't blame Michael Redd necessarily. I mean, that Pistons team, who was on the Pistons during that time?
Chauncey Billups, Rep Hamilton, Tayshaun Prince, Rasheed Wallace, Ben Wallace.
So,
I think
yeah,
Duncan Darvin Ham's on that team.
on the Bucks.
Yeah. No, not on the Bucks.
Oh, on the Pistons?
On the Pistons,
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
you're right. You always point that out. I always forget about that. He gets a ring with him, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think Okoro was on that team.
Yeah, so this Pistons team is loaded, and
Loaded.
they're known for their defense, right? Like you're not
Yep.
getting past that team. So you could understand why Michael Redd is shooting so poorly and his numbers are low. But at the same time, like, who else are you going to pass to? Put the ball up. What is Terry Porter telling Michael Redd, Andrew?
No idea.
So, as you could tell, he loses. He's out. And unfortunately, from here on, Michael Redd only has 1 more playoff appearance. But Michael Redd reaches peak Michael Redd during this time. During the 04-05 season to the 07-08 season. This is his stats during that time. 24 points a game, 4 rebounds, 2.8 assists. He's getting 6.8 free throws a game and now shooting 84%. And he's also shooting 5 threes a game now. So he's clearly an all-star during this time, but he's not being named as an all-star, and he has very minimal help during this time. Again, his best stat season was 06-07, averaged 26.7 points, 3.7 assists, 3.7 rebounds. He's putting up numbers, Andrew. 5.8 threes this year as well. So he's clearly dominating, but these are his teammates during this time. I don't know what the Bucks were thinking trying to lead this team. Here are his teammates. The second lead scorer on the team was TJ Ford.
Then he hurt his back.
Yeah, well, later on he hurts his back. That's during like the mid 2010s. This is early TJ Ford. Charlie Bell, Jamal.
I remember Charlie Bell.
Yeah, Charlie Bell. Yeah, I forgot about him until I saw this. Jamal McGlure, Andrew Bogut, Joe Smith. These were his teammates. And they get to the playoffs, but nothing's going to happen. They lose in the playoffs. So you have Michael Redd, peak Michael Redd, and he only gets to the playoffs once, and they lose in the first round. Every time he got to the playoffs, he lost in the first round. He got there 3 times, but one of the times it was a Ray Allen-led team, so he really only got to the playoffs twice and lost in the first round and won a total of 2 playoff games.
Some interesting thing that I found out was when Michael Redd's contract was coming up, and he was the Bucks were looking to re-sign him. LeBron James, and I quote, in 04-05, LeBron James says, "I recruited before I left here, but I just didn't win. I just didn't win nothing, so nobody wanted to play with me," James said, pointing out that previously the lone marquee free agent to come to Cleveland based on his influence was Larry Hughes in 2005. LeBron James says, I recruited Michael Redd. I recruited Joe Johnson. I recruited Chris Bosh. I recruited a lot of guys. I just didn't win. And they didn't want to come to Cleveland. So I'm guessing me winning 2 championships, it helped out a lot. So LeBron James tried to get Michael Redd to come home, come back to Ohio, help me lead this Cavaliers team, which he had to take to the finals against your San Antonio Spurs, and they got swept. Would they have stood a better chance if Michael Redd was on that team?
I say yes. Catch and shoot Michael Redd on that Cavs team, that's like exactly what you need. He's not there to pass, he's there to shoot.
You know who LeBron James was passing to?
This is going to be a LeBron James.
Boobie Gibson.
He hits a big... oh, no, I'm thinking Damian Jones.
That's Damian. Yeah, it's Damian Jones. He was passing to Boobie Gibson. He could have been passing to Michael Redd.
You know what? He could have. That's a good some good insight right there. I would have loved to see Michael Redd. And this is kind of like, I view Michael Redd right now during his peak, kind of like what Bradley Beal is, right? He's a guy that could, if you put Michael Redd in today's game, he's 30 points a game. That peak Michael Redd, 30 points a game in today's NBA. That's what Bradley Beal is. Just an efficient scorer, high volume shooter.
And Michael Redd was no joke. He gave Kobe 45 one night. 45 in Staples Center.
On the road too, huh?
Yeah, in 06. He gave Kobe Bryant 45. And this is when Kobe was like, what? Not even in his 30s yet?
What year was this again?
In 06, I believe.
Yeah, that again, prime Michael Redd. I would have loved to see him on a contending team. I think we're both in agreement that he wouldn't be, he can't be the main guy. But if you have him as like a second banana or a number 3 on a contending team, you could see it happen. Just like a Klay Thompson, like catch and shoot guy, you know what I mean? Or like a Kyrie Irving, catch and shoot. Kyrie Irving obviously did a little bit more, but or like a Joe Dumars was to Isaiah Thomas, just that guy that could step in.
And Michael Redd got to play on the 2008 Olympic Redeem team to get back the gold medal. He was a specialist. He was a shooter.
Yeah, and it worked too. That's what he was good at. But unfortunately, that's when the injury started happening. January 25th, 2009, Redd would miss the rest of the season with a torn ACL and MCL in his left knee. Redd missed the rest of that season. He tried to return to the Bucks, and it basically just all goes downhill here. He comes back in the 2009-2010 season, but during the game against the Lakers in 2010, re-tears his ACL and MCL, and then that's basically his career from there. He tries to make a little comeback with the Bucks. It doesn't turn out. And then he finished his career with the Phoenix Suns, and he has a couple good games, but ultimately he's no more, and that's the end of Michael Redd's career. And now, I mean, what's the big picture? How do we fix Michael Redd's peak career? Is that what it is? If he decides to sign somewhere else, or if the Bucks didn't do a good job like around him, like what is it?
It could be a lot of things. I mean, maybe the Bucks training staff wasn't able to take care of him. Maybe it's just bad luck. I mean, it could have been bad luck. It could be a number of things. Michael Redd, at the end of the day, is a tragic story of a guy that we should have seen that should have been playing maybe even into later into the 2000s. You know, maybe he gets to play until 2014, have a longer career.
I mean, we're both in agreement, right? He's not like an alpha led player, right?
I don't believe so, no. But I think he's a guy that can get you buckets, and he has to have the ball.
Yeah, he's a high usage player. He wants the ball in his hand. Maybe can we see him? Maybe the start of his career, that's what he should have been for most of his career. Do you think he would have been better just being a sixth man, or do you think he's like a number 2 or a number 3 type of guy? Like, could he have been a Lou Williams throughout the early 2000s to late 2000s?
I think he was too good of a player to have coming off the bench, unless you were, you know, making sure that he was closing out the games towards the end. But I mean, if you're trying to get to a hot start, you want that guy in the lineup.
What's best case scenario for Michael Redd's career? What's the one thing that could have happened differently that could have changed his whole career?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Do you think he did the right thing staying, or do you think like what could have been his decision?
If he would have went to the Cavaliers, maybe there would have been a little bit more pressure taken off of him, and he would have played a second option. Maybe not third option, but definitely a second option.
Does it work?
I think so. I think they win 60+ games a year. And maybe LeBron James doesn't leave.
Do you think that team's good enough to beat one of the Spurs team or the Lakers team during that time, or a Celtics team with Kevin Garnett?
I think they need a third guy. Michael Redd defensively isn't great.
Yeah, that would be like
and
a liability.
He's not physically imposing. You would definitely need to get, another guy for sure. But it's going to be one of those greatest what ifs.
Yeah, and I always feel so like the what if, right? Like, what if Michael Redd made different decisions throughout his career? I will say this, though. I don't think Michael Redd thinks much about it. I feel like he is content with how his career went. Outside of the ACL tears, I think he's happy with how his career went.
Yeah, I think he's moved on. He's a devout religious person, and he gives back. And as of right now, he gives back to his community, which is great. I think that's a great win. And maybe he wasn't a guy that wanted to win a championship. Maybe he was just a guy that wanted to stick in the league and make some money while doing it.
So we had a guy who had his peak was averaging about 25 a game, 5 threes a game, 4 rebounds, 5 rebounds, couple assists. And basically just like your modern day, that like your early 2000s, like a Klay Thompson, like he's going to high volume shooter, wants to shoot, maybe more like a Kevin Martin. Maybe that's a more realistic comparison, but
yeah, maybe
I feel like it could have gone better, but that's how it went. I think if Michael Redd could do it all over again, I think he would. And I don't think he would really change it. That's my take on it. He got to represent his country, like you said, in 2008. He won a gold medal. I think those are his biggest highlights, and he got to be part of being around those top players. And I think that's probably like the icing on the cake for him.
And honestly, I think he's one of those guys that just, he just got better. He was a late bloomer guy. I mean, this guy was picked 43rd in the draft, and he had to sit behind Ray Allen for for 3 seasons, and then he just waited his time. And I think those stories are pretty good. Look at all those guys that were picked ahead of him.
If he doesn't tear his ACL, do you think he stays with the Bucks?
I think he finishes it out with the Bucks. I mean, he was pretty loyal to them.
You think he's a lifer, huh?
I think he's a lifer, and whether they do better in the playoffs, who knows?
That was for you, Zach Bean. We did this for you. And if anyone else has a deep dive player they want us to get into, Andrew, tell them where they could do it. And for the questions, too.
You can go on our Facebook. You can join our Facebook group, the Undrafted. You can also you could probably message us directly. That's fine as well. And also you can get to us on Instagram, YouTube. If you have a comment on a video, maybe, or on Twitter.
Does it have to be a basketball related in terms of questions they ask?
Absolutely not. Your questions can be of any and all of sport, or it can be questions that you want Joe and I to answer just on a personal level.
Andrew, are we drafted?
We are undrafted.